What's going on, guys? This is the Talking Sports Podcast with Adam and Alec. This is episode 25. Tonight, we're going to be continuing our podcast series of breaking down every single MLB division for the upcoming season, as well as looking back to last season. Tonight, we have on Nick. It's great to have Nick on again. Huge Ranger fan, and so am I. So it's going to be fun talking about the AL West and talking about the Rangers. So before we get into the AL West, some great things happened today in the MLB. The lockout is finally ending. They finally came to an agreement, and we are going to have a full baseball season. Might be delayed a little bit. I'm not sure on all that, how if they're just gonna pick right back up. But it's gonna be great to have baseball back.
Yeah, it's definitely great to have baseball back. It seems like this lockout has gone on forever. But just the last couple of weeks, they've been meeting what seems like 24/7. And to go on talking about the season, they announced that it'll actually start April 7th. I believe there's going to be 3 days added on towards the end of the calendar, and then 3 doubleheader games throughout the season. So they'll play a full 162-game season with the opening day, April 7th. You mentioned free agents are going to go into a frenzy the next couple of days. So I think everyone reports Sunday. I think they gave them 3 days before a mandatory report. But it's definitely going to be hectic the next couple of days in the MLB. Yeah, like you mentioned, we're talking about the AL West today. We talked about the East and the Central last 2 episodes. And we're going to keep going with the same kind of template that we have been using. We start with the bottom and work our way up. So saying that, last year the bottom team in the AL West was your Texas Rangers. They finished 60-102, 35 games back in first place. Since you guys are the Ranger fans, what was your take kind of on last year? And I don't know, what were your expectations going into that year to start?
Well, not going to lie, for me, I didn't have any high expectations the last 3-4 seasons. Ever since the World Series runs, we've kind of been in like a long rebuilding mode, and I just expected that to continue. So I didn't have a whole lot of expectations coming in. Some guys like Adolis Garcia, just an absolute stud. It was his rookie season, and he had an incredible season. So that was some positive things, take away from last season. But I didn't have any really high expectations.
I mean, losing season after losing season, we didn't have much. We're still rebuilding. We have a few guys that we knew were all-star caliber, like Joey Gallo, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, things like that. But we knew that we were going to be towards the bottom of the division. We knew we weren't going to have anything special. And Adolis kind of came out of nowhere and kind of had a spark, like maybe the Rangers will have a future. Maybe, and then trading Gallo at the trade deadline, losing Gibson, the only pitcher in our rotation that seemed to be doing anything remotely decent for once. And, it seemed like we were going to be complete rebuilding mode going forward. And then, we made some crazy moves this offseason.
Yeah, we'll get to those. But you mentioned Gibson. Gibson, I'm pretty sure he was 6-0 at one point, if I remember correctly. 6-0. Before we traded him, he was 6-3 with a 2.87 ERA, had 94 strikeouts. So, and part of the problem of why our team has been so bad is our pitching has been atrocious.
Absolutely terrible.
And we've talked about it the last couple episodes. If you want to have a good team, you got to have a great bullpen, great rotation. Like that's got to be your starting point if you want to be good. So that was a huge struggle for us last season. Like we said, we had Gibson and then we got rid of Gibson. So after Gibson was traded, our lowest ERA was a 4.51. So that's pretty terrible. That was the one guy in the 4s, and then the rest were in the 5s for our starting rotation. So that is horrible. So that is something that I want the Rangers to fix. As we've talked about, we've made some good moves this offseason, but that's something that I want them to address in the future. But talking about some of the high points, I guess, of last season, even though finishing last in the division, didn't expect much. Talk about Adolis Garcia. He's had a great season, all-star. He batted 243 with 31 home runs, 90 RBIs. Gallo was having a good season until we got rid of Gallo, which that one is kind of like, we love Gallo.
Yeah.
But Isaiah Kiner-Falefa hit for 271 with 53 RBIs. Another big guy was Nate Lowe, hit for 239, 18 home runs, and 72 RBIs. One guy that I don't know about you, but I think of that's kind of a bust for us, and he was a really high prospect, has been Willie Calhoun.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Now I can't remember. I think he broke his ankle or something like that. He had an injury like halfway through the season that kind of prohibited him. But throughout his whole time with the Rangers, he hasn't done much so far.
Nothing.
Nothing at all. But, I think things are, as we're, still rebuilding and starting to look towards the future. We'll talk about more of the offseason here in a little bit, but I think we definitely have a bright future, and I think we can definitely make some noise here in the next couple of years.
Yeah, and someone that I wanted to mention, didn't Nick Solak start out pretty hot in the first couple months for you guys?
Yes, Nick Solak had one of the best Aprils a baseball player can have. And then out of nowhere, he starts to slump and he can't get out of it. So he gets sent back down to the minors. And he comes back at the end of the season, does all right. But I don't think we'll be able to see that April Solak again. I mean, hopefully, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
so I didn't do a whole lot after the first month. I didn't even write him down to talk about him because how the rest of the season, and inconsistent that he was, how he was playing.
All right, so moving on from the Rangers, the fourth place team in the AL West was the Los Angeles Angels, or the Anaheim Angels, whichever one you want to call them. They finished 18 games back of first place with a 77-85 record. This is a team that has a long history of, signing the big names and then underperforming when it's time to perform. One of the more notable signings they had in recent history was Albert Pujols. And then just a couple offseasons ago, they picked up Anthony Rendon. Both of those, for sure, the Pujols one didn't really blossom to anything, but Rendon, I think this is going to be his third year with the team. Maybe this year is the year they finally piece it together. Looking at last year, kind of the face of the franchise, Mike Trout, he only played in 36 games. But in those 36 games, he hit for 333 with 8 home runs and 18 RBIs. So he had a good start to the season before getting injured. And then really the big name now besides Mike Trout is Shohei Ohtani, the two-way Japanese player. He hit 46 bombs with 100 RBIs, and pitching-wise, he went 9-2 with a 3.18 ERA. So he had a phenomenal year last year. What's y'all's take on this Angels team since y'all see him so much throughout the year?
Yeah, my first thought is disappointing. You feel like the last couple seasons they've had, great teams and great players and, should be winning the division. But, they just haven't made that next step in winning games. You talked about Mike Trout, who's arguably the best player in baseball, only playing 36 games. I mean, that is a huge loss when your best player, MVP caliber player, is out for over 100 games. That's really going to affect your team. But then you got the bright spot of Ohtani, who hit 46 home runs, 100 RBIs. And then, like you said, he's two ways on the mound. He went 9-2, 3.18 ERA with 156 strikeouts. So, I mean, Ohtani is just like a generational, crazy, amazing player that is going to be exciting to watch. And he's also on the cover of this year's show.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that. Shohei Ohtani, talked about too much, but it's crazy that the last great two-way player we think of is Babe Ruth. The thing is, this season, Ohtani hit better than Babe Ruth ever did, and he pitched better than Babe Ruth ever did. I think Shohei had the single single-handedly had the greatest baseball season ever. Hot take or not, the stats back it up. This guy alone was enough to beat out the Rangers. And if Trout's around, the Angels are definitely going to be in the playoff picture. I mean, they have guys. Jared Walsh had a good year. Not great, but was good. They definitely are someone to consider moving into next year.
And I mentioned them signing Anthony Rendon, which looking at his last year, he only played in 58 games. In those 58, he wasn't as efficient as he was with the Nationals back in 2018, but he still hit for 240 with 6 home runs. I think you get a full year of Ohtani, Trout, Rendon, Jared Walsh that you mentioned before. This is an easily 80-plus win team looking at a wild card spot. I don't think they can win the division because Houston's offense is still stacked. But this is definitely a wild card team, I feel like, that could make some noise in the playoffs. Moving on to Oakland. They finished last year 86-76, 9 games back. First thing that comes to mind with Oakland is Moneyball. It's kind of what they've been their whole existence. Trying to get their stats from last year real quick. So Matt Olson, the face of the franchise, I guess you could say, him or Matt Chapman. Olson went 271 with 39 home runs, 111 RBIs. Really good production for your first base. He's also a Gold Glove first base caliber. And then on the other side of the corners, you got Matt Chapman, who hit 210, kind of a down year last year, but he still had 27 home runs. Their whole infield played more than 140 games, it looks like. So you got great chemistry there in the infield. What's your guys' take on this athletic team?
Before I got to say this. There's 2 guys on the A's that former Rangers that, I love these guys. Elvis Andrus and Mitch Moreland, 2 former Rangers from back in the glory days. So had to mention them before we talked about the rest of the team. But yeah, Matt Olson had a heck of a year, hitting 39 bombs. Their best pitcher, Chris Bassett, went 12-4 with 3.15 ERA. So he had a good season, winning 12 games. Matt Chapman also. I think this A's team is pretty solid. I don't know if they can take the next step to winning the division, but I think they're around middle of the pack of the division, probably around the same where they finished last year. But I mean, they're definitely a solid team, I think.
And I mean, looking at the roster, most of these guys played majority of the games. The only top 9 player on here that didn't play most of the games was Ramon Laureano. So really, the win amount that they had last year might be the ceiling for this team, because they don't have any young guys that I can see that are just going to make a big time difference. And we mentioned the Moneyball thing, they don't spend a lot, so they often lose a lot of players. And one guy that I'm going to mention is Marcus Semien. He was a former Oakland Athletic, went to Toronto. Now he's with you guys.
I heard.
So, I mean, I don't see this team really doing much better than they did this last year. Their starting rotation is pretty good. They four of the 5 starters won 10-plus games. And they had 3 different guys under a 4.0 ERA, which, that's good, especially with Bassett at 3.15 that you said. So, I mean, I still think they're a good team. I just don't think they're a playoff team this upcoming season.
Yeah. There's just everyone's good now in the West, it seems. So, yeah, not much else to say on the Athletics.
Yeah, Oakland's kind of the weird team to talk about. Up next, though, is kind of the surprise of the division last year. The Seattle Mariners, they finished 90-72, only 5 games back of the first place Astros. And, for basically my whole life, really, the Mariners have kind of been the laughing stock of the AL West. It's been a while since they've been in the playoffs. They just missed out this last year. They have a couple of young guys coming up, but they also lose Kyle Seeger, who announced his retirement this offseason. He finished with 35 home runs, 101 RBIs. So one of his better seasons. He went out on a high note at least. They brought up a top prospect for them, Jared Kalenic, in the middle of the year. He didn't really perform like they wanted him to. He only hit 181. I expect him to do better this year, having a year under his belt. What's your guys' take on this Mariner team from last year?
Yeah, you mentioned the Mariners not making the playoffs in a good amount of time. I looked it up. They haven't made the playoffs since 2001.
Sheesh.
I was not alive in 2001. That's all I'm going to say. And I looked at their records from 2001 to now, and there's been 8 times since 2001 that they have won 80 or more games, and they haven't made the playoffs. That's just how crazy this division has been,
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah. A 90-plus win team is good enough to be, in the World Series conversation.
Yeah.
The thing is, there's only 5 teams per division, and I believe next year they're adding a team or adding a couple teams, adding a team in both leagues. So, not that I would like to see the Seattle Mariners in the playoffs, but it adds a little bit of more breathing room for these 90-plus win teams
that still find themselves second in the division.
Yeah, they find themselves in the wild card conversation.
Yeah, you also mentioned Kyle Seeger. We're going to talk about another Seeger, his brother, later. But had a great season, retired. He played 11 seasons? Is that right?
I believe so. He was 33.
So he's played a while, all with Seattle, hitting 35 home runs, 100 RBIs. I mean, that's a great way to go out stat wise. You talked about I can't say his name, Kalenic, something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, the young guy. I think he definitely has a bright future ahead of him. Great young prospect. Mitch Haniger hit 39 home runs, 100 RBIs. So they definitely had the bats rolling last season with those 2 guys. Chris Flexon, 14-6. Their best pitcher had a 3.61 ERA. So this team was kind of a surprise, like you said, because the season before was the COVID season, so only played like 60 games around. But I think this team only won like 20 games the season before. So definitely a big change last season, winning 90 games.
Yeah, and I saw a stat a while ago, but essentially this was the best team, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, this was easily the worst 90-win team last year.
Yeah.
Looking at the rotation, and I mean, they had 2 really good stars in the lineup, but I'm trying to find the run differential. The run differential was insane, if I remember correctly. If I can look that up real quick. It's not going to work. But yeah, the run differential last year, I saw a stat on it. I forgot what it was, but it's insane how this team even won 90 games last year. That'll bring us to the Houston Astros. A team that neither one of y'all really have any love for. Kind of how me and Casey were about the Yankees. They won the AL West again last year with a 95-67 record. Don't really know how many years in a row this is for them. Kind of established a streak, though. The offense was as good as ever last year. The pitching rotation was a little bit down. They didn't have Verlander at all, and they had to have some guys step up. What is your take on these Astros from last year?
Well, I can't stand this team. They're probably our biggest rival in the division, and then they are cheaters. they have cheated definitely. So I mean, everyone already knows that. But they did make it to the World Series. I was very thankful for the Atlanta Braves and was rooting for the Braves and very glad that they beat them in the World Series. So thank you, Braves, for that. So I didn't have to live with the Astros winning another World Series. But winning 95 games, they're a good team. It will be interesting to see moving forward if they lose Correa or if they re-sign him. Now with the lockout being done, there's going to be a lot of deals and a lot of moving parts around the MLB. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him.
Yep. I have nothing to say about the Astros. I can't talk about them. I just don't like them.
I agree.
I mean, they're good. They got one hell of an offense and they got a deep bullpen. What else more? I mean, they're World Series contenders every year because baseball doesn't have a salary cap. You got money, you got good guys. I mean, that's how it works.
Right. Yeah, but Adam mentioned they could possibly lose Carlos Correa.
Yeah.
Say you take that guy out the lineup, you still got Yuli Gurriel, who hit 319, Jose Altuve, who hit 31 shots, Bregman, who had a down year last year, only hit 270. But then you had Kyle Tucker, who stepped up, hit 294 with 30 home runs, and then Yordan Alvarez with 33 home runs. Even without Correa, this lineup is absolutely insane. I don't see them dropping off. Verlander should be back, I believe, this year, so we'll see how he does after a year off. Anything about last year before we move on to this year's predictions?
I think we're ready for this coming.
All right, so we'll start back down at the bottom with Texas. Real quick, the new playoff format, I think we talked about it before this episode, is they're adding a wild card team for each league. I think it was the 3 and 6 will play, and then the 4 and 5 play. If I read it correctly, the 1 seed will then play the 3 and 6 team or the 4 or 5 team. Okay. And then the 2 seed will play the winner of 3-6. So you're not guaranteed the lower seed. You're locked in with whoever's supposed to be there. Looking at free agents for your Rangers, you pick up Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, John Gray, and Cole Calhoun. The question marks now are Charlie Culberson, David Garcia, Brock Holt, Jordan Lyles, and Billy McKinney. Which one of those that I mentioned are the question marks would you like to see back, if any of them?
I like Culberson.
I would say personally Culberson. Culberson is a good utility infielder. He can play a bunch of different positions. He can hit for average. He's not a big home run guy, but he gets on base.
Yeah. I thought he had a good season last year. I'm pretty sure he was up and down between AAA and up with the Rangers. But I thought he had a solid season, and I think he's definitely someone who could help us if we could keep him,
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I'm assuming y'all are extremely excited about the addition of Corey Seager and Marcus Semien.
Oh my goodness, dude! Yeah. Corey Seager, 10-year deal for $325 million. Then Marcus Semien, a 7-year, $175 million deal. I love it.
You can't do that. You can't spend $500 million
in one day,
in a day, and expect that to be fine. I mean, the MLB just got out of a lockout.
Yeah.
There are reasons why they went into that lockout. And let's just say that people are unhappy with spending $500 million in a day. Now, that's not the full reason, but it's a reason nonetheless.
But I'm not going to lie. This is the most excited I've been about the Texas Rangers since probably 2016, the last time we were contenders in the division. So I am really excited about this season. Corey Seager, obviously getting him from the Dodgers. Wasn't he am I making this up, or wasn't he the World Series MVP the year they won it, the COVID
Seager,
year, 2020?
The Dodgers, yeah.
He was the World Series MVP. Just an incredible player, shortstop. And then you get Marcus Semien, who's one of the top second basemen in the league.
Good.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
So we locked those guys up.
We
for
got
a
these
long
guys
time.
for the next decade.
Yeah. And like, come on now. Us Rangers fans, we deserve this, man.
Yeah, we've been bad since 2011.
We've been suffering for a long time.
We've
been rebuilding for a long time.
What, in 2012, we got Darvish, or maybe it was 13.
Yeah, 13.
We was more hope.
Yeah.
But no, we can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
We lose Ron Washington,
Yeah.
and our franchise just
Blows up.
goes into the ground.
So I'm really excited about these guys. We're gonna have probably the best middle infield in baseball.
Best
Those two
middle-
guys.
Best, you can say best infield, at least defensively. If we move kind of Falefa to
Yes.
third,
Yeah.
I don't want to lose that guy. I don't know what they're gonna do. Move him to third, Nate Lowe at first. It's a pretty good infield.
Kind of Falefa has been a really important piece to our team.
Definitely.
Even these last couple of years when we haven't been good, he's been a bright spot. The dude can literally play anywhere.
Anywhere.
He's played catcher, he's played second, he's played short, he's played third,
Then he can
he's
play
played outfield. He's literally played anywhere but pitcher. I don't think he's played first either. But
he could.
not
He
yet.
definitely could.
He definitely could. Wasn't 2 seasons ago he was a Gold Glover
Yes, Gold Glove for third base
at
in
third base. Yeah.
2019.
So
2020. I don't remember.
Yeah, I remember him getting Gold Glove. But so with getting Seeger and Simeon for second and short, I'd fully expect Kiner Falefa to be moved to third. He's got a cannon of an arm, and like we said, he won a Gold Glove at third a couple years ago. So I expect Kiner Falefa to move to third, and I think our infield is going to be really dominant.
And we mentioned talking about last year, the pitching staff wasn't great. Y'all did pick up John Gray. Granted, not a top tier pitcher, but something to help that rotation at least.
And definitely better than what we've had.
Yeah.
And we should not have gotten rid of Kyle Gibson, but I know we're moving to this coming season. Enough of talking about last year, but we shouldn't have got rid of Gibson.
I don't think we planned on doing what we did.
No, yeah.
I don't
think
know
you're right.
what was going on in the front office, but it was impulsive. Talk to these guys, trying to work out a deal, and then they realized they could get both.
You think we keep Gallo if in mind we're thinking this far ahead?
I think
This time last year.
I
or
think
whatever?
we make different moves.
Yeah.
Not really sure how franchises in baseball get money, especially bad teams like the Rangers when they're not even selling out the stadium, and then all of a sudden,
Brand new awesome stadium though, as you can
Oh,
see
yeah,
from our
great-
background.
great stadium, right? Just build a stadium,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden,
And we mentioned lockout just ended, so free agents are able to sign again. Adam,
Yes.
I know you're really wanting Clayton Kershaw to sign with the Rangers.
Clayton Kershaw, please watch this episode and please come home. I know you're from Dallas, the Dallas area, so please come home and pitch for, I'm assuming, your childhood favorite team, the Texas Rangers. So
did you know that he knew Matthew Stafford?
weren't they teammates
Yes,
in high
at
school?
Highland Park.
Yeah.
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 Fact,
That's
he knew Matthew
Heard
Stafford.
a lot about that.
Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Yeah. Hey, so Clayton, come home, man. Come on. You want a ring out in LA? Let's bring one to Texas now. So come home.
All right. What is y'all's prediction on this year's team, the Rangers?
We're gonna win the pennant.
Yes, sir.
Easy as that. We're gonna win the whole thing. Anything less would be disappointment.
I would hope that would happen, but I don't know if I'm as confident as you. But like I said earlier, this is the most excited I've been about Texas Rangers in a long time. I really think, we're going to find out in the next couple of days what else the Rangers do, because I don't think they're done with the lockout ending. I really think this team is fixing the rotation and bullpen away from being contenders. So if they can make some moves and make that happen, I think we can seriously make a run. I don't think we're at the level yet, just by signing 2 great players. We're not at the level yet of winning the division. But I think we can compete now, unlike the last 5-6 seasons where we haven't been able to stay on the field with anyone. I think we can seriously compete. I expect the Rangers to do some more moves. Hopefully get Kershaw. That would be so awesome. if we get Kershaw, we can make a run. Definitely. Just
Yeah.
saying.
Realistically, this is a long-term process. We just got Leiter from
Jack
Vanderbilt.
Leiter, yes.
He is a beast. His dad was a beast. He'll be in the majors in a few years' time, and hopefully he can make a statement. We have Seeger and Simeon for what feels like forever.
Yeah.
Gallo said when he left that he didn't want to leave, and so hopefully if we make something happen, he can come back in a few years. This is a long process. We'll compete now. We'll keep making moves. We'll get on people's radar, and out of nowhere, we'll win one of these. Definitely sooner
Yeah.
rather than later.
My prediction would be I think this team can be a 75 to 80 win team. That's what I would say for this coming season. And then I think the more moves we make, you talked about Jack Leiter. We had the third pick in the draft, picking Leiter from Vanderbilt. He's going to be a great young stud to help kind of rebuild our rotation and our bullpen, things that we got to fix if we want to compete. So I see us winning 75 to 80 wins, which is, really good for the last couple seasons, winning 50 to 60 games. So that would get me excited winning 75, 80 games. Not going to lie.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think you're a high 70, low 80 win team. Just look at the roster right now. I mean, if you go pick up a Kershaw and maybe another guy or a bullpen arm, you could turn into a mid-80 team.
Oh, man.
But I think right around 80 is probably a good target for this year for y'all.
I think we have a really bright future, and down the road, I think we can definitely get back to the level of the glory days.
Oh yeah, at minimum a 500% win ball club. We have to break even at least. Anyway, moving on to next.
And that's all I got for the Rangers. Really excited. Now let's start winning some games, I hope.
All right, next up is the Angels. My prediction for them. Actually, let's look at their free agents real quick, see what they might be losing. So the Angels, their question marks right now are Steve Cishek, Dexter Fowler, Phil Gosselin, Juan Lagares, and Kurt Suzuki. They were able to re-sign their closer, Iglesias. So the bullpen stays intact for them. I think they get a full year out of Shohei, full year out of Mike Trout, and a full year out of Rendon. If they stay healthy, I could see them being a 90-win team and making the wild card game. I don't see them winning the division. I still think that's Houston, but I think they jump to second with a full healthy season from those three guys.
I could definitely see them jumping up to second because I don't think the Mariners are going to have as good of a season as they did last year. And then we talked about Trout only playing 36 games. If they can stay healthy, Trout and Shohei, I mean, that's a really dangerous team. I could definitely see them jumping up and possibly making the wild card.
Oh, something I forgot. They signed Syndergaard.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, they got Thor.
We've kind of forgot about all this stuff that happened right before the lockout, some of it, because we haven't had baseball in so long. Except, we're Rangers fans, so we remember. We're excited about that stuff. But yeah, Syndergaard, man, him and Shohei.
Well, one.
That'd be dangerous.
Yeah, I could see him making a wild card game, probably right around 90 wins. That's providing they have a fully healthy season.
If they don't, I can see them the exact same way. If Trout doesn't play the whole year, I don't know.
Yeah, if they can't keep them healthy, they're right around 77 wins again. Anything else to add about the Angels before we move on to Oakland?
I think that's it.
All right, so next up is Oakland. They finished third last year, 86 wins. Looking at their free agency moves, they got quite a few guys that are question marks. Andrew Chaffin, Jake Diekman, Mike Fears, Josh Harrison still in the league somehow, Jed Lowry, Mitch Moreland, Yasmero Petit, Trevor Rosenthal, and Sergio Romo. We also lost Starling Marte, Mark Canna, Jan Gomes. They're losing quite a few guys. I don't think they're going to be too competitive this year. Obviously, we mentioned before with Matt Olson and Matt Chapman, that's a really good corner infield. But other than that, I don't know. This team just they don't strike me as a playoff team at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're more of like a middle of the pack team, third or fourth. I don't know if they'll be last. I don't know. I definitely don't see them making the playoffs. Like you said, they're losing a bunch of guys that can really hurt them this season. So I definitely I don't know about, they could be around the 80 win range. I don't know. With them losing so many guys, I could see them drop to a mid to upper 70 win team. And that could definitely drop them to the third or fourth in the division.
Yeah, I agree with that. Right around the mid-70s for them this year, which is insane because the past couple of years they've been in that playoff talk.
Yeah.
And they've been in wild card games. I think it was like a 3-year span of 17, 18, and 19. They were in the wild card game.
Yeah.
They were never able to get out of it, but they were there for a pretty good stretch of time. And now it's just like they're finishing fourth, maybe fifth in this division. Y'all have anything to add about Oakland?
I got nothing. Absolutely nothing.
All right, so Seattle.
So,
Seattle's up next. We mentioned they were the really surprising team last year, even though the run differential was awful. Looking at their free agency moves, the main thing, Kyle Seeger is retiring. The question marks are Tyler Anderson, Sean Doolittle, Yusei Kikuchi, and Joe Smith. This team, honestly, I don't see them having the same success they had last year just because of all the close games that they were somehow able to manage to win. Maybe a high 70 win team. I don't see them getting above 80 though.
Yeah, I agree. I could definitely see them right around that same range. Losing Seager's big time. He's been there forever, it seems like. And I don't know. You said they won a lot of close games, and I got a feeling they're not going to have the same success as they did last season.
Like I said, this is probably the best team last year. And it's weird saying that a 90 win team is going to drop down to mid 70 at best win team, but it's happened before. I mean, the 2018-2019 Red Sox was a prime example. You go from winning the World Series to finishing fourth in your division.
Yeah, that's true.
And I mean, Seattle, they're going to be good here in a couple of years. I think last year was kind of a fluke year. And especially losing Seeger, that drops off 10 games, I feel like, right there.
Yeah.
I think maybe low 70, mid 70 wins for them.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll move on to y'all's favorite team, the Astros.
Oh. Yeah.
Last year they won 95 games, like we mentioned earlier. Looking at their free agency question marks, if I can find it again. The big one is Carlos Correa. They also have Yimi Garcia and Zach Greinke due up. Honestly, looking at this, it's kind of weird how good the rotation was at one point. I mean, they had Garrett Cole, they had Verlander, they had Charlie Morton, they had Dallas Keuchel all in the same stretch of seasons, and now it's Verlander's old, Greinke's old. Sooner or later, this team's going to drop off. I don't think it happens this year, but for sure the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think this could be the start of their decline because I honestly think Correa is going to go and get paid. And somebody's going to be willing to pay big bucks, and somebody's going to go and get Correa. I think there were talks of, Detroit, if I remember right, before the lockout was that they were targeting Correa. So who knows with that, but I definitely think Correa is going to leave. And then I think, like you said, a bunch of their pitchers are old. I have in my notes that Greinke's old, and
Oh,
yeah.
he's
But,
old.
I think if Correa leaves, then it's going to be Altuve next, and then before you know, I think they're going to be a whole different team. So honestly, I think the future of this division is the Texas Rangers.
Yeah, Texas.
I mean, speaking of people leaving, George Springer was kind of the first domino in that he
Yeah.
left to go to Toronto.
That's true. Yeah, I forgot
But
about
I
him.
think it'd be a weird signing if Correa went to Detroit based on the episode we did last week. But, money talks. And here in a couple of years, they'll probably be competing. But I don't know. They're going to win 90 games again this year. They'll make the playoffs. I don't think they make it deep in the playoffs with the rotation that they have. But they'll still win right around 90-plus games.
Yeah, I agree. I think the fall off doesn't happen this year. The Astros probably win the division again. I think losing Correa will hurt them if it happens. But they'll probably win the division and be in the race in the postseason again. As much as I hate to say it, but give it a couple years, and I think they'll fall off.
So something that we haven't done the last 2 episodes. Ranking 1 through 5, I got Seattle 5, Oakland 4, Texas 3, Los Angeles 2, and Houston 1. What do y'all have?
I agree.
I like that a lot, actually.
That's the most realistic.
If you tell me the Rangers are going to be third, man, you know how happy I'll be.
That's an improvement, not an embarrassment.
Yes,
we'll take it.
Yes, I like that. So you said Houston, LA, Texas. Then what was your last 2?
Oakland and Seattle. Oakland being 4.
Okay. Yeah, I really don't think the Mariners are going to have that big of a season.
Mm-mm.
But I don't think the A's will either. I could see the A's finishing last. I think either the Mariners or A's will finish last.
I think those 2 are swappable at last.
They'll tie with the same record. We'll go with that.
There we go.
I could also see LA, if they're healthy, they could win a division based on their weapons, and obviously free agency is just now basically beginning. Who knows what they do?
Yeah, that's true. They can definitely make a run. Give the Astros a run for their money.
Because of Verlander and Greinke, if they resign, they're going to run out of steam towards the end of the season.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you don't have a 37-year-old dude out there throwing gas all year. They're going to run out of steam.
Yeah. And then if Correa leaves, that's going to
hurt
them even more.
That's a spot in the lineup. Yeah, I don't know. Pretty good episode here talking about the AL West. We mentioned next Wednesday, I think we're going to do the NL East with the reigning Atlanta Braves.
Yep.
Also, Tuesday, we're going to do the first episode of the NCAA March Madness tournament. I think we're going to do it in person maybe and do a bracket fill out.
Yeah.
I think that's going to go for 4 weeks, I'm pretty sure, each Tuesday after the weekend. So, yeah, a lot of episodes coming up here the next month or so. Opening day, a little under a month away.
Right?
Do what?
April 7th?
Yeah, April 7th, opening day.
Awesome.
So, yeah, things moving fast now in MLB.
Definitely.